welcome back to Steps Podcast. We are back at it here another week, another episode. And today I have someone who I reached out to on LinkedIn. I know you guys have seen that most of the people I have on the podcast, I've either done business with, I know them personally, or I've met them personally. He's one of the few that I have not met personally, but when I saw him on LinkedIn and I saw what he's doing, I was like, wow, we're literally doing the same thing. He's doing it in a different market, and it's so cool to see operators who are on the same path in the ADU world, in the real estate investing space, in the financing space. And so, yeah, we reached out, we connected, and I was able to get him on. And this is episode 98. We've got David Simmons here, and I'm going to read a quick bio, but we're going to get to know him and get to know what's working in his market, and we're going to be talking about a lot of cool stuff. And for those of you who have listened to the other episodes, we'll be touching on a lot of the same topics, but just different dialogue, which is always interesting because you learn from each episode. So David is the founder of StrataX Development, where he specializes in California infill development. And most homeowners don't realize, what's possible on their property. And so part of his strategy is to teach homeowners and investors how to implement housing laws like the ones we've touched on in the past, which is SB 9, SB 79, which is one that, it's a newer one that we'll also talk about. SB 1123, we've touched on, also touched on a little bit of AB 1033 and how we'll see that, I think in the next year, once cities start to adopt it, it's really going to take off. And just, implementing other state density bonus laws. And so that's part of his strategy. And not only does he help on the development side, but he also helps on the financing side. So he also runs Silverback Capital, which is a Sacramento-based private lending firm that backs exactly, those types of projects. And, financing is a very difficult understanding still in the development space, and figuring out how to structure both of those avenues are, it takes a skill. So I'm glad that he does both, and I'm curious to learn more about, what led him to that path. So enough of me talking. I'm going to hand it over to David, and thanks again, David, for your time.
Yeah, absolutely. Pleasure meeting you. Just listening to what you said, it's crazy. As I'm sitting here going, man, I can't believe I did all that crazy stuff, right? I guess you just kind of put your head down, and after a while, you just, you move the needle a little bit, and it starts to come together. So cool. Thank you.
Yeah, I love reading out the bios because you don't realize how much you've done and, all the things that you've accomplished, because you just, like you said, you put your head down, you're doing it. And then you look back and by reading the bio, it helps you look back and think like, wow, I've really done a lot. And then at the same time, you probably feel like me, where you feel like you're just getting started too, right?
So true.
You're like, wait a minute.
Isn't that crazy? That's crazy.
We've got so much work to do, right? I've talked about this over and over on the episode. And as you know, we are in a housing shortage. There's a housing deficit of about 5 million nationwide, about 3 million in California. So when people talk to us about, why do these density plays work? I mean, it's as simple as that. We need more housing. And so when I saw what you were doing, I was very curious to just learn more about like what's working in your market. Are you guys doing a lot of SB 9s in the residential space? Maybe let's start there, and then we'll go up the density ladder and talk about multifamily.
Sure. There is a lot of SB 9 going on, especially where I am at, in Silicon Valley, San Jose, South Bay. There is a lot of intelligent people taking advantage of that. Homeowners, particularly, that have a lot and have that extra space, are now catching on, and they're splitting and they're selling the one that they inherited. So, it is. I believe that people spend so much time tracking deals down, the right flip, the right ground up, and if you just looked at these deals through a different lens and just tried to think about creating density within the property that you own and what's the highest and best use of that property, that is artwork. And that's where the real profits lie. And it just helps people get, to a lot more deals if they start looking through the density lens.
Yeah, and I've talked about that too. I had this series on YouTube called the ADU Lens. But, from the ADU space, I've kind of led into different density paths. And so, how did you get started into building that skill set and that ADU, that density lens, right? Like, what
Yeah.
led you to
Yeah.
relearning how to read these deals?
Yeah. So, I do follow laws quite a bit, and I pay attention to those type of things because I am always trying to find an angle um, to kind of create a niche of something different where I have some knowledge that maybe can be utilized to help other people and create profits for my team. So the very first AB 1033 project was in San Jose at 2985 Lance Avenue. So I was watching that very, very closely. A couple things that I wanted to make sure that happened was, number one, was the city of San Jose going to facilitate the condo map, the recording, and issue the APN, and everything was going to go smooth. So they ended up, doing that, and all went well. But the more important thing that I was watching was, how is this going to appraise?
Mm-hmm.
What is it going to sell for? And then the biggest green light for me is, what lender is going to buy off on this? They're going to say, wow, let's do this. This is a phenomenal new asset class. So I called the broker that was selling this unit, and I'm like, hey man, you got the first AB 1033. Congratulations. He's like, thanks, man. It was a very interesting deal. I'm like, can I ask you what it's pending for? He's like, are you sitting down? And I'm like, yeah. He's all, we just sold it for under $1.6 million.
Right.
So I know in my mind, that was an 1,150 square foot ADU. And so, that build cost, depending on where you are, 400 grand-ish, right? Probably.
Right.
So, he created over $1 million of gross equity in creating a condo map on an ADU. I'm like, whoa, that is brilliant.
Yeah.
So then I just started to continue to go down the rabbit hole. So then I really got into the California Housing Reform Act and studied those laws and figured out that there is in this particular time frame within the state of California, there is a lot of opportunity if you're paying attention. This California Housing Reform Act is really changing the laws of, the difficulty of getting these new density bonuses and permits and architecture and engineering on all the stuff that used to be a nightmare in the state of California. With this new law, there's no more public hearings, right? There's no more planning commission. There's no more city denial authority,
Right.
more SECA. So all these particular things that used to just massively destroy your submission now have been completely deregulated.
I mean,
So
even Coastal Commission has to abide by some of these.
Yeah. There's a new quota within the city of Sacramento. In 2025, there were roughly 100,000 new building permits issued. The state of California and all their cities and counties have now been mandating, the new number is 500,000.
Right.
So 500,000 permits. How do they get there? Well, they get there by deregulating all the issues that used to hold it back, right? And then now creating these new density laws, you have like a perfect storm to where you can create real estate through density. You have way less deregulation, that will help your LP investors want to, get back in if they fully understand that concept. And there's some really profitable deals out there.
100%. And I think it takes a lot of skill, because even though all of this information is public, and you could go out and be part of any organization, Casito Coalition or California YIMBY, and learn about the policy and understand the code, it's very difficult to implement it, because not only do you have to understand policy, but you also need to understand every aspect of the business, the design, the construction, the financing structure, how you're going to exit this, or if you're going to hold on to it for how long, and what does that rental strategy look like. I had a podcast last week with someone from Pad Split, where they're basically renting out by the room, and it's a great strategy in places like high dense areas like San Diego, probably LA, Austin, even San Francisco as well. And so, getting back to the AB 1033, I was also keeping an eye on that. And on one of the Casita Coalition calls, they interviewed, I think they interviewed Stephanie, which was the one who sold the one for 500,000. I don't know if
Mhm.
she's also the one, is it Alpha X, who did the 1.6 one as well?
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, so I wanted to learn, and I'm also, getting on these roundtable calls about how the implementation of AB 1033 is going to be just happening in other cities. And I think
Yeah.
a lot of it is we're just going to follow the blueprint that San Jose pretty much did, right? They have a checklist on what that process looks like.
Mhm.
And my understanding is the ADU has to be completed before you
Mhm.
begin the AB 1033
That's
process,
right.
the
Yeah.
condominium. And then
Mhm.
there's all these added fees that also, aren't being talked about. So maybe selling off one may not make sense for a homeowner, but if you're talking
Mhm.
about multiple ADUs, like, SB 1211 stacked with AB 1033 could be its own strategy. And then
Um,
there's all these other different bill stacking strategies that
mhm.
you've learned how to implement, and it takes skill. It takes true skill to understand how all these overlap and how to utilize them and leverage different bills. So I myself also started learning more about policy and even going out to the Capitol to testify. I went and testified on SB 1117, about impact fees, and then also AB 956 on being able to have two detached ADUs on single families. What the one that I'm focusing on is definitely keeping my eye on AB 1033.
Mhm.
SB 1211 is my favorite one right now. And then
Mhm.
one that I haven't touched on, but I've been keeping an eye on it, especially since it passed July 1st, is SB 79.
That's
So,
my new baby.
yeah, yeah. Talk to me
That's my new baby.
talk to me about that one. How are
Yeah.
you? I mean, I'm sure you were following it way before it passed. So, what
Mhm.
was your thought process when you saw that one and you're like, oh, snap, like, okay, what can I do here? And what areas are you focusing in? Like, tell us a little bit of your
Yeah,
strategy.
this is definitely the sauce of where I'm where I'm at right
Right,
now.
right.
So yeah, so with SB 79, I am shopping for projects, multifamily, ground up subdivision, that are somewhat, you know, close to be entitled, trying to find, permit ready, shovel ready. And I'm telling you, I am getting these, Dave, this is this off market project in Menlo Park. No one's seen it. I do all my math. I run my whole model and I'm like, here it is. Here's the perfect offer. There's no way that they can say no to this. I shoot it over and they're like, yeah, they sold it for $2 million more than what you did. I'm like, why are you kidding me? So I'm like, okay, well, the power, especially in the Silicon Valley, is the project, right? Because there is such a massive appetite and so much money for development projects in that area, which I call tier one. That would be a tier one area. So I just went all in and I built out a SB 79 combined with SB 330. And I'll send you this model and it's going to blow. It's going to blow. You're going to fall back in your chair. So, um, you know, being able to find these SB 79 projects, what is SB 79, right? It's to where you can buy any type of parcel of property zoned in any type of condition, as long as it's within a quarter mile to a half mile of a public transportation via light rail, via bus station. You're somewhere within a hot community where there's, the goal is to build more housing, to house more people, keep people, let burn less gasoline, get people on the public transportation to where they can bounce around to work and back. 6 to 9 stories, right? I think the sweet spot is 5 stories on this. I do, because then you can start go to a steel frame and you get out of wood.
Right.
Um, and there's, I think the height restriction that you want to stay under is 85 feet. And but to be able to get some of those deals in your pipeline and just re-entitle them and offer them on, just create a model of what what the developer on the backside can sell it for once the vertical construction package and all of it's done. So they see, here's the comps. If you just run the whole analysis out for them, right? Here's what you bought it for. Here's what you can sell it for. There is a massive profit margin in just the re-entitlement phase without going through the CD set and getting to shovel ready. You don't need to do that.
You don't even need to get that far.
You don't need to do it. And when you do that, a lot of what some people don't understand is when you do draw all those CDs, that CD set, you really limit your buyer, because a lot of guys don't want to, they want to put their own thing on their, it's a, $20 million project. They often are the type of people that want to put their own, imagination into their deals. So you're limiting that access. So re-entitling these projects with SB 79 and SB 330 with the lower density laws is the best opportunity in the last decade.
Wow. And have you started working on a couple already?
10.
Nice.
Yeah.
What is the time frame for that entitlement and then the fees associated with that?
So I'll send you the sheet of what it is, but I think 6 months that you could get something re-entitled, and I think that you could have it to market I went out and put together the most incredible team and every person that needed to be inserted into that business. So I did that first. The foundation of people is something I'm, all for. You got to pay smart people what they're worth and get out of their way. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that's what I did. I went out and, found the ex-vice president of DR Horton to find all the land that was in charge of their land acquisition. And then for my entitlement manager, I found an unbelievable lady who actually ran a planning department within Santa Clara County. That went solo on her own. So not only did she run the entitlement process from the inside, now she's back on the outside working with groups like me. And I hired Ben Farbowitz, which is a CFO from New York, to manage all the arithmetic and make sure everything is underwritten correctly. And so it's a pretty exciting time.
Yeah, no, that's a great strategy. So explain a little bit more about SB 330 stacked.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yes. So SB 330 protects your package is at application phase. So at no time can anything be changed, whether it's a new election, new laws come into play. Once you submit that application and it's combined with 330, it locks it all together. You're good. Amazing. Yeah. So it's like a little insurance policy.
Got it.
And make sure investors feel better too. That
of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that risk, that gives them ease to know that they can take that on.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, no, I'm very curious. We're going to have another episode, part 2, on the actual implementation of some of these SB9s. But I didn't even SB 79s. I didn't even think about just the entitlement, not even getting to, already.
I'll jump on a little Zoom with just me and you later.
Please, yes.
We'll go through this and and it's crazy.
Well, yeah, you can show me right after this.
Okay.
No, this is incredible. What else are you? What other bill stacking strategies are you implementing?
I am doing an AB 1033 right now in San Jose.
Okay.
And then I've been working a lot with my Silverback Capital stuff too. Just one of the things that I always try to do is create an ecosystem of people that are doing development, that are interested in, density plays, lot dividing, but then everybody always needs money.
Right.
So I wanted to put myself in a position to where I get a chance to meet those people, to supply them capital, and then yet work together with them on potential deals, GPLP stuff, and just kind of facilitate a cool ecosystem, because I do get a lot of deal flow And then and I always have LP guys looking for deals. I got developers. So it's a cool thing that I get to see on both sides.
At 100%. That's the best way because you get to see every aspect, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you get to be part of it, as
Mm-hmm.
key
Yeah,
for those LPs. And we'll talk about it offline too on how you have that structured because
sure.
that's something I'm curious about too for myself.
Yeah.
Um, but with AB 1033, what is your take on, you talked about costs, and one thing
Mm-hmm.
I tell my clients, whether it's a homeowner or an investor, um, build it now because the cost is going to go up, especially when
Mm-hmm.
all of these cities opt in to AB 1033. And, I went out to Spain. We were out in Barcelona with the California Urban Institute, and I got to meet with some of the assembly members, and we were talking about AB 1033, and we were also just having conversations around should it be an opt-in or should it be more of just a state mandated type of bill,
Mm-hmm.
and so maybe there could be some changes where it's no longer an opt-in and now it's just state mandated. And if it gets to that point, by next year we'll see a whole different climate as far as like the cost to build, right? It's going to
Mm-hmm.
go up, and then once lenders are able to finance it, the appraisal value is going to go up. But most importantly, once they appraise at a higher value, just like that one did at 1.6, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
the cost to build is going to go out the roof too. So if part of your strategy is to buy and build with the intention of selling, you
Mm-hmm.
definitely maximize that density now, because the price is only going to continue to go up. And, we've seen it happen in places like Washington. In Washington, they've been selling them off already for
Mm-hmm.
the last couple of years.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think Oregon too, right?
Yeah.
So we're kind of picking up a lot of what they've been able to do, and just to create more housing, more inventory. But yeah, that's an interesting one to see how it all comes down, because that I think that one will play a role on everything else, the cost to build and everything.
Yeah, it's such a magic key, AB 1033, right? I mean, I know a girl in Seattle that sold a garage conversion for 400 grand.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, there was another one that sold for 530,000 in San Jose. I think it was a 750 square
yeah,
foot, two
I,
bed, one bath.
I saw,
Yeah,
so yeah, the other thing that, I haven't done this just because I've been locked in with SB 79, but if people, if you had a savvy buyer team, and this is just an opinion of mine, and you just ran data on rental houses that have ADUs already,
right.
and then you went and got a lot of those in contract, and why they were in contract or whatever, and you're able to lock those up, you could just do AB 1033 on the houses that already have ADUs and
Right.
have a pretty good, easy time to have a nice little marginal return just doing that model, right? You wouldn't even need to go through all the construction process if you want
Exactly.
to write zip codes, high dot costs. I mean, there's a lot of ways to do it. There's a lot of opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, luckily for you, San Jose has already opted into AB
Yeah.
1033. We're still waiting for LA. I know
Yeah.
LA and Riverside County are talking about it, but it's not official yet, but I know it's going to happen. San Diego, which is not too far from me, has already said yes. So we're going to start seeing a lot of AB 1033 in San Diego. And San Diego has the bonus program on top of that. So you've got people who are building, 20 ADUs on a SFR lot and R1 lot, and then selling them off. They're going to start doing that. And, it does create a lot of affordability, because most of those people who can't afford to buy $1 million house, which is your average price point anywhere in these major cities, can now afford a 400 to 600 square foot garage conversion ADU. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Now they get to work and live where they work,
Yeah.
rather than buying something 2 hours out. So, and then, you're able to just create more inventory for that type of buyer. But that is its own niche. So it is something that I'm looking into, but I'm just waiting. We're waiting for LA to opt in, and then
Mm-hmm.
that'll be a strategy here. But for you, it's perfect. I mean, San Jose is really leading that
Yeah.
path. And I've downloaded the checklist just because I'm ready. I'm just going to follow that same checklist, and present
Yeah.
it to these cities. And I'm sure LA will come up with their own. But it's
Sure.
good to know what that process is going to look like and the fees associated with it and the time frame, because the one at 1.6, if I understand correctly, it took a while, right? It wasn't
Mhm.
overnight. I think it took
No, it was
six
there
to
was
eight
yeah.
months, if not longer, for the
Yeah, it took some time.
it took time. And then the cost, if I remember, was somewhere between, from everything I wrote down, was it like 80,000 roughly,
Hmm.
somewhere in that range?
Yeah.
So people just have to be mindful of that too. But it still makes sense, 80K to be able to sell off that unit and make, a million.
Yeah, that is crazy. I
It's
can't.
insane.
I'm like, I saw that. And I'm like, this is crazy. A
Yeah.
$1 million profit off an ADU? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
That
But see,
just
people assume that it's a 400, 600 square foot ADU. This was a solid almost
yeah.
1,200 square foot.
Yeah.
What was it, like a 3-2? It's
It was
basically a
it
single
was a
family
yeah. Yeah, it
home.
was it was a 3 bedroom, 2 bath, 1,150 square feet on an 8,000 square foot lot.
Right.
So
And
the mean,
even though it sold at 1.6 compared to the other comps in that neighborhood that were true SFRs, it was
mhm,
still under market.
definitely. It was in a
So
nice neighborhood.
yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
it was still somewhat affordable for
Mhm.
other people who want to tap into that neighborhood but can't afford a 2 million or a 1.8 million. They're able to buy something at 1.6 in that neighborhood. So it still
Yeah.
creates opportunity.
Yeah, I think that the feasibility of the lot matters a lot when you do AB 1033. Um, I think corner lots are fantastic, right? Because you can have like the front door of the main house on one street, and then you can have your ADU kind of at the other side gate to where they don't look at each other. It'd be really hard to have like an infill subdivision type thing that would look kind of quirky. Um,
Hmm.
the other one that I think works really good from the feasibility standpoint is often in downtowns, in the old school downtowns, there'll be an alley access, and then we'll
Right,
have a detached garage behind the main house. And so you could build your AB 1033 with the front door facing the alley,
right.
that way, and then the main house is up in the front, like on T Street, and you're on the back in the alley.
Hmm.
I think that works really good. You could build a cool little modern something, and younger C-suite type guys or gals would dig it.
Oh, 100%. It's funny because I've said that in the past on the podcast. I'm like, corner lots, alley access,
Hmm.
avoiding power lines, avoiding, certain things like that. It's like your ideal setup for an AB 1033. Even before AB 1033 was a thing, I was already preaching for corner lots with alley access, and because it was just a better setup, so that if
Yeah.
at any point in time they did pass a law that would allow you to sell them off, because I was already watching what Washington was doing,
Hmm.
was something that I was just like forward thinking on
Hmm.
design and the space and the functionality. And I told you I'm working on my personal one, and just putting thought on the duplex that I'm building in the back, making sure that both tenants have some sort of designated patio space, for each
Hmm.
tenant, along with parking. Even though I don't have to provide parking, I'm still being mindful of it, because it is in a residential neighborhood. But every single property on my block has either a 2-story or a garage conversion in the back.
Oh,
So when
cool.
people say like, "Oh, is this really happening?" Like, it's happening everywhere. It's very quiet density that's happening. And
Hmm.
so I think many times people get, scared and think that it's going to impact the neighborhood, but the reality is it's not. I mean, it's happening everywhere. I
Hmm.
went. My friend Jared with Middle Housing Partners, who I texted this morning, and I was like, "Hey, I'm interviewing this guy, David, on my podcast. I think you should be on. He should be on your podcast. He's doing a lot of SB 1123."
Hmm.
And we did a meetup at his project in Redlands, and he's going from 1 to 44 units on that
Amazing.
lot by doing,
Wow.
it's 3 parcels. You got the main house, and then the rest is all just vacant land. He's doing 10 units on each parcel plus the 4 ADUs, and that's how you're getting to 44 units. But if you walk and drive through the neighborhood, you would never guess that all that's happening back there. It's very
Hmm.
quiet density happening, and it's not disrupting I mean, maybe disrupting the neighbors during the time of construction, but other than that, like not much happening, not much parking impact. There's transit within, reasonable distance.
Mhm.
So yeah, when people think that it disrupts or it like, messes up the character of the neighborhood, it really doesn't. Like I think
Yeah.
it's more people being fearful of change. But
Mhm.
this is where we're heading towards. I mean, we saw it in Barcelona when we were out there last week. These people literally bike everywhere. They have a great train system. They just walk and bike everywhere. And I think for high dense areas like San Francisco, LA, and San Diego, we will get to see that at some point. It's just going to take,
Mhm.
but it may not take 10 years because the way these bills are being passed and the way they're streamlining for more housing, we may get to see it in a couple of years where people
Yeah.
just commute, hyper locally rather
Yeah.
than driving. So
Yeah.
awesome. Well, how can people connect with you if they want? I'm assuming you start with a discovery call and then a feasibility if they want to do any of the bills we
Yeah.
just talked about.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. If they go to my website, strataxdev.com, or they could just, my LinkedIn is available. People can book a call there, or direct message me. And yeah.
Awesome. Okay, guys. Well, make sure you guys reach out to David if you're out in the Bay Area. I may go out there, and if I do, I'll reach out to you so we can meet in person. I'm
Okay.
trying to see if I can make it to the ADU Expo happening
Mm,
in, I don't know if it's Sacramento or San Francisco, somewhere up in the Bay Area. So,
I'll see you
but
there.
I go out there often, so I'll
I
see
mean,
you.
yeah. Oh, yeah. You got to hit me up.
I will. I'll definitely hit you up so we can meet in person and maybe do some content on one of your projects or something. And if you're ever out in town this way, same thing, reach out.
Okay.
But it was a pleasure having you on. I feel like we already know each other. So, I'm excited to meet you in person and hope you guys all got so much valuable information. If a lot of this stuff went over your head, reach out to us, schedule a call with David, especially on the SB 79 entitlement strategy for those investors who really want to, look at those pockets. Just reach out. All right, guys. Thank you so much. We'll see you on the next one.